My name is Jim Howicz. I am a partner and the managing partner of Richards Rodriguez Skeith. If you make a decision to hire an employee in another state, you have to understand that most likely you're going to be considered doing business in that state, and you will need to register with that state as a foreign corporation. And what that's going to require is you have to go to the Secretary of State and tell them who you are, that you're doing business in the state, that you have employees in the state, who your registered agent would be, where your office is, and really give them all of the information that is required for the government to contact you and potentially serve you with a lawsuit if necessary. The other thing that you need to consider is if you have employees in another state, you're going to be subject to that state's employment laws, which requires you to register with that state's employment agency or Department of Labor, pay employment taxes, and also potentially pay taxes in that state. Having an employee in another state is a decision that you should consider very carefully because it does make you subject to the laws of that state. You'll probably have to pay employment taxes and employment insurance in that state, and you may have to pay income taxes in that state. It's most likely that you're going to have to register with the state employment agency and register with the state taxing authority because you have employees in that state. It may even be that depending on where your employee lives and where they'll be working, you have to register with a local authority or get a business license in a local place depending on what that place's laws are. And so it's something that you need to consider from the outset. If you have an employee in another state, you will be communicating with that employee remotely, and you will be passing information back and forth with that employee most likely. That means that that information will have to be secure. Just like how you promise your customers most likely that you're going to keep their information confidential, that will extend to your relationship with this employee, and you have to make sure that you have the infrastructure and policies and procedures in place to keep stuff secure. Beyond the legal issues, you're going to have an employee that's not in the office with you, and you have to understand if you can manage that employee effectively. And do you know what they're doing? Do you know that they're being productive? Do you understand what work they're doing? Can you communicate with that employee effectively? These are all operational issues, but you really need to consider, is it worth it, or do I really need the employee to be in the office with me so that I can make sure that they are performing at the level that I expect? The thing to remember about having employees in another state is that insurance law is regulated by the states, and so if you're going to have someone outside of Texas, you really should call your insurance agent and talk to them about if that changes your policies at all, or you need to get additional insurance, or if anything is different. Having an employee in another state is a little more complicated than you might expect, and before you make this decision, you should consider talking to counsel to guide you through the process.